Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into a topic that's both fascinating and incredibly disturbing. We're talking about some of the most chilling and shocking stories you'll ever hear. We're talking about serial killers, but not just any serial killers. These are the world's youngest serial killers, and their tales will leave you speechless. Kids who committed unspeakable acts. So if you're brave enough to join me on this journey into the heart of darkness, grab your detective hats and let's get started. And don't forget to have that pause button ready, because you might need a break after this one. Our first case takes us to 1968 Newcastle upon Tyne, England. Picture this: a seemingly ordinary 10-year-old girl named Mary Bell. She had a tough upbringing, facing neglect and abuse. On May 25, 1968, Mary Bell, along with her friend Norma Bell, no relation, lured a 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown into an abandoned house. They strangled him, leaving his lifeless body in the house. Weeks later, Mary and Norma struck again, this time targeting a 3-year-old boy named Brian Howe. They strangled him too, but this time Mary went further. She mutilated Brian's body, even carving a letter M into his stomach. She also used a pair of scissors to cut off some of his hair and partially castrated him. The brutality of the crimes sent shockwaves through the community. During the investigation, Mary Bell's disturbing behavior raised red flags. She would often giggle and sing about death, even drawing pictures of the murdered boys. Eventually, both girls were brought in for questioning. Norma cracked under pressure, confessing to her role in the murders. Mary, on the other hand, remained eerily calm and emotionless. Our next case takes us to Liverpool, England, in 1993, a year that would forever be marked by a tragic and horrifying event. This case is particularly disturbing because it involves not one, but two 10-year-old boys, John Venables and Robert Thompson, whose actions would shock the world. On February 12, 1993, John and Robert approached 2-year-old James Bulger, who was momentarily left unattended at a shopping center. The innocence of a routine shopping trip would soon be shattered. They lured him away with promises of toys and candy, leading him on a horrifying 2.5-mile walk across town, a journey that would end in tragedy. Security footage captured John and Robert leading little James by the hand, a chilling image that would become seared into the public's consciousness, symbolizing the loss of innocence. Witnesses observed the boys as they walked, some even recalling seeing James being kicked and tripped, yet no one intervened. The boys led James to a railway embankment, where they subjected him to a prolonged and unimaginable torture, a place that would become a scene of horror. They threw paint in his eyes, pelted him with bricks and stones, and even shoved batteries into his mouth, acts of cruelty that are hard to fathom. Finally, they dropped a 22-pound iron bar onto his head, inflicting the fatal blow, ending the young boy's life in a brutal manner. James's mutilated body was found 2 days later, his death shaking the nation to its core, leaving a community in mourning and disbelief. The search for the killers was massive, with police combing through hours of CCTV footage and interviewing countless witnesses, determined to find those responsible. It didn't take long for suspicion to fall on John and Robert, two boys who seemed unlikely perpetrators of such a heinous crime. Their images, captured on CCTV, were circulated nationwide, turning the search into a national manhunt. When brought in for questioning, the boys initially denied any involvement, but their stories quickly unraveled under the pressure of the investigation. Our next story takes us back to the 19th century, to Boston, Massachusetts, a city bustling with life and industry. It's 1871, and the city is about to be terrorized by a child known as the Boston Boy Fiend, Jesse Pomeroy, whose name would soon become synonymous with fear. At just 11 years old, Jesse embarked on a spree of violence that would leave an indelible mark on the city's history, shocking both the public and authorities alike. Jesse's reign of terror began with a series of disturbing acts against younger children, acts that were both calculated and cruel. He would lure them to secluded areas, tie them up and subject them to brutal beatings and torture, leaving them traumatized and scarred. His first victim, a 4-year-old boy, was found tied to a fence, his body covered in cuts and bruises, a sight that horrified the community. More children came forward with similar stories, their accounts painting a chilling picture of a young boy consumed by a dark and twisted impulse, an impulse that seemed to grow stronger with each attack. Despite being apprehended and sent to a reform school, Jesse's urges only intensified, showing no signs of abating. After being released on parole, he escalated his attacks, this time with even more horrifying consequences, leaving the city in a state of panic. In 1874, at the age of 14, Jesse committed the act that would forever cement his place in the annals of true crime, an act so heinous it defied comprehension. He lured a 10-year-old boy named Horace Millen to a secluded area where he brutally murdered him, an act that shocked even the most hardened of citizens. The details of the crime were so gruesome that newspapers refused to print the full extent of Jesse's savagery, fearing it would incite further panic. The murder of Horace Millen sent shockwaves through Boston, a city already on edge from Jesse's previous attacks. The city was gripped by fear, and parents refused to let their children out of their sight, terrified that they might be the next victims. The hunt for the boy fiend intensified, with every resource dedicated to bringing him to justice, a mission that would test the resolve of Boston's law enforcement. Our next case takes us to the quiet suburbs of Warwick, Rhode Island, in 1987. This is the story of Craig Price, a seemingly ordinary 13-year-old boy who hid a terrifying secret behind his charming facade. Known as the Warwick Slasher, Craig's crimes shocked this peaceful community and exposed the dark underbelly lurking beneath the surface. Craig's reign of terror began on a hot summer night in June 1987. His first victim was 39-year-old Rebecca Spencer, his next-door neighbor. Craig broke into her home, stabbing her to death in a frenzied attack. 2 years later, Craig struck again, this time targeting the family living across the street. He brutally murdered 27-year-old Joan Heaton and her 2 young daughters, 6-year-old Jennifer and 10-year-old Melissa. The brutality of the crime scene was unimaginable, with over 60 stab wounds inflicted on the victims. The murders sent shockwaves through Warwick. Fear and paranoia gripped the community as the realization dawned that a cold-blooded killer was living among them. The police worked tirelessly, following every lead, determined to bring the perpetrator to justice. As the investigation unfolded, suspicion fell upon Craig Price. His behavior had become increasingly erratic, and he had even bragged to friends about committing burglaries. When questioned by police, Craig confessed to the murders, his chilling confession revealing a depth of depravity that belied his young age. Our final case brings us to the small town of Savona, New York, in 1993, a place where everyone knew each other, and the sense of community was strong. This is the story of Eric Smith, a 13-year-old boy who committed a crime so senseless and brutal that it left his community reeling. Eric was known to be a troubled child, often bullied and ostracized by his peers. Eric's victim was 4-year-old Derek Roby, a little boy with a bright smile and a love for the outdoors. Derek was the kind of child who brought joy to everyone around him. On August 2, 1993, Derek Roby was walking alone to a summer camp program just a few blocks from his home. It was a short walk, one he had made many times before. Eric Smith, who was riding his bike in the opposite direction, spotted Derek. The two boys crossed paths in what would become a fateful encounter. For reasons known only to him, Eric lured Derek into a nearby wooded area, promising to show him a shortcut. Derek, trusting and innocent, followed without hesitation. In a secluded area of the woods, Eric Smith unleashed a torrent of violence upon little Derek. The serene forest became the backdrop for an unimaginable horror. He strangled him, bludgeoned him with a rock, and sexually assaulted him with a stick. The brutality of the attack was beyond comprehension. The brutality of the crime was shocking, even more so considering the young age of both the victim and the perpetrator. It was a crime that defied understanding. Derek's body was found later that day, his small frame lying lifeless in the woods. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community. The community was devastated, their sense of peace and security shattered. Vigils were held, and memorials were erected in Derek's honor. How could such a horrific act occur in their small, tight-knit town? The question lingered in the air, unanswered and haunting. As the investigation unfolded, suspicion quickly fell upon Eric Smith. His demeanor and actions in the days following the murder were scrutinized closely. Witnesses had seen him talking to Derek shortly before his disappearance, and his behavior in the aftermath of the murder raised red flags. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, leading to a chilling conclusion. And there you have it. Some of the most chilling and disturbing cases of young serial killers. These stories remind us that evil can take many forms and that age is no barrier to darkness. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's important to be aware of the world around us, even the dark corners we'd rather not acknowledge. Thank you for watching. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.